Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about the necessity of instilling faith within children. The children will take over the nation, right, once the adults are gone. And if you raise corrupt children, the nation will be corrupt. What we have today in America is really a boat that is sinking. I don't just mean economically. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about morally. The country's been taken over by occultists, lunatics, and they have instilled within the people demonic beliefs. They have fooled the people into adopting demonic beliefs. And they have fooled the people into practicing demonic activities. So, we're going to bring down hell upon ourselves, because that's what happens. It's simple cause and effect. And people can sense it, that there's something wrong. You see all these videos. Oh, there's something wrong in America. What's wrong in America? And then they, expose the lies and blah, blah, blah. The government's lying, and, they've been lying to you since childhood, and they sold you a bill of goods, and you work for nothing, and your money doesn't go far, and blah, 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 blah. But the real cause is because everyone has abandoned, not everyone, but many, millions have abandoned God and have no faith. See? Because the people that have faith withstand the lies that are thrown at them. They can see through the lies that are thrown at them. They're not fooled by the foolers, the deceivers. They can see how they're lying and being lied to and have been lied to. They see it. But if you don't have faith, this is why COVID was really a test. And I'll tell you, a lot of people were hoodwinked. Hoodwinked. And that's because they had no discernment, because they must not pray properly. Because God would speak to you and tell you the truth. And this is why we have to teach the children that there is a God, and that this God is available to talk to 24 hours a day. And there's, direct conversations here, right, intuitively between you and the Creator. And this is one of the things that Jesus came to talk about. It's part of the good news that he came to talk about, in my humble opinion. I mean, as a kid, I remember reading the Bible at 8 years old, because my mother bought me a kid's Bible. I still have it. And I had other booklets, too, of different famous stories of Abraham and Joseph, being sold into slavery, and so many. I knew all the biblical stories. Samson and Delilah. So I was exposed to that. Then I went to a Catholic school. I was blessed to do that. And that was instilled within me. We went to church, went to confession, terrorized by a crazy priest sometimes who was a little over zealous in the faith, right? Right, fire and brimstone type, which was, I'd rather have that than nothing. I had good nuns around me, So I'm blessed to have had that. People have had negative experiences too. I'm not saying that, but I really didn't have that. I had good experiences, so I can't complain. But at least I had the idea that God is real, instilled within me, and then I practiced it, and I still do. And it's a lifesaver, because I don't know how I'd survive without it. And let me just read you a quote that a friend sent to me, and it's very apropos here, and it's about teaching children about God. It says, "Here is the secret that every secular philosophy of education has tried to suppress." Now, the secular schools are the non-religious schools in America, and that's all the public schools. And they've taken God and they've thrown God in the dumpster. And the public school system is collapsing. It really is. I mean, the grades just keep getting lower and lower, and the kids keep getting, more stunad as the day goes by, because they don't know anything. They know less and less and less. And this is by design. They can't write script. They don't know grammar. They can barely read. They can barely do math. I mean, this is a real collapse here. And we sit around pretending like it's not happening. It is happening, right? And one reason is because, well, they took God out of the picture. So it says here, this is the quote: "The soul that is formed in God from its earliest years is different in its very structure from a soul that receives the faith as a later acquisition. The first has roots. The second has to grow them under storm. Both can become saints, but the first has a head start whose advantage cannot be exaggerated." Now, they mention here a saint, Crescentia, who did this, instilled faith in the child. And it says Crescentia understood this. They poured, and this guy Modestus too, a saint, they poured the faith into a child at cost to themselves and ultimately at the cost of their own lives because they knew what was at stake. And, I'm sure there's brave teachers that talk about God, but, you can't talk about God in secular school. They want to throw you out the window unless you're one of the, special religions that the government, says, oh, no, we have to let them do their thing because, that's discrimination. But the Christians, well, no, you don't have a right to speak. And this is all by design. It's all prejudice, of course. But the brave teacher will try to instill within the kids some sort of morality because that is what's lacking. We're raising vipers, animals that are on the streets and that are going to be dangerous to society and to themselves. And you see it. You see it. Just turn on the news and see how people behave after, a sports game and, burn things and destroy things. That's all lack of morality. Everyone rushes into a jewelry store and robs the whole place and runs out, or everyone runs into a deli and just robs everything and runs out. That's because these are godless people. Godless. A person with God within them would never do such things because they would know that will return to them. They are planting bad seed. The child that's taught this knows this. And the child also knows that they don't have to steal anything because God will give them what they need. They don't have to steal. So raising children in the faith is very important because, see, it's like what Jesus said. If you build your house on sand, when a storm comes, it'll collapse. When you build your house on rock, when a storm comes, you'll survive. Well, God is the rock. And if you build it on sand, which is the world, right, the lies of the world, right? One of the reasons why I think there's so much mental illness in America, and it has utterly skyrocketed. It's just skyrocketed like you wouldn't believe. And I see it all around me living in a big city. It's because people are frightened, right? And after COVID, when, they shut the world down, people had no foundation. Their hopes and their security was in the world, the government, the lies of the news, their jobs, their education, their money in the bank, whatever it was, not in God. And the governments, well, they shook that up quite a bit. They limited people's activities, forced them to do things to their bodies they should have never been forced to do, all these different things. And as a result, they're not secure anymore. These people are traumatized because their security has been ripped from them. Well, your security should be in God, not the government, not your money, and not the world, because the world fails. A child should be taught that God is his security. God's the foundation. If he has nothing, he has God, and God will give him something. See, that's what we're going to need in this storm that's coming here. This country is a boat headed into a huge, huge storm. And a lot of people are going to fall overboard because they don't have God. But if you do, you're more likely to survive. And that's why I'm making this video, because this is what's needed now. And the kids especially have to be taught this, that God is a priority. Number one, connect with that power within you. God is within you. Get to know him. Do not ignore this. Do not lack faith. Do not have disbelief, because God will do for you what you need done and take care of you, right? The kid has to be taught this. And the parents, that neglect this, well, they're just creating problems for the kids. And some parents do it accidentally, and some parents have lack of faith themselves. I get it. But if you don't instill it in your kids, not fanatically, not to be a fanatic where you turn them off, but to the point where they understand, how important it is, or at least see you behave this way, and then they'll maybe model themselves after you. But the big problem in America here is the lack of faith, throwing God out the window, and then doing this to the kids, causing them to have a lack of faith. This is child abuse, and it has eternal consequences. And the people that do it, the people that deliberately don't want God in schools and don't want God here, don't want God there, well, they're going to pay for that when they leave this life, and they're going to see the consequences of what they did. They're not going to be pleased. Yep. Will they repent? I don't know. Only God knows. Anyway, think about what I'm saying and have a nice day.